Okay, well, welcome to another video. I'm outside again with my very improvised setup, just like in the previous one. But today, as you can see, I have a different dish combined with a different feed. And again, it may not look like it, but we are currently aimed at an Inmarsat satellite. And that's sort of what I wanted to make this video about. Originally, this was not really supposed to be a video. I just wanted to see if I can receive telemetry from the Inmarsat geostationary satellites, because I'm sure it has been done before, but I just haven't seen it really on an SDR spectrum plot. So I would like to see what that looks like. But I figured when I'm gonna be doing that, we may as well go through all of the bands that Inmarsat uses and see what we can see. I have the table of the frequencies these satellites use pulled up, so you can know exactly what to look for and where to look for it. And of course, where else to begin than the L-band 1.5 gigahertz, because this is probably what you are most familiar with already if you have done any sort of satellite reception. Inmarsat L-band reception at 1.5 gigahertz is very popular because, as you can see, it does not take much to receive it. This setup looks stupid, and it is. There are many inefficiencies. We're going to be going through the actual hardware that I'm using. And yet, this is more than enough to get even the highest rate signals on the L-band. I don't know. That's the that's the premise of this video. So Inmarsat, International Maritime Satellites, I don't know what. Inmarsat is a fleet, or has a fleet, of geostationary communication satellites. I believe as of today, as of the very end of 2024, there are 3, 4, 5, 6, so 4 generations of Inmarsat satellites still operational. One member of the Inmarsat 3 family. Then I believe 4 of the Inmarsat 4, then a couple 5 generation satellites, and then a single Inmarsat 6 generation satellites. Only Inmarsat 3, 4, and 6 transmit signals in the L-band, and I'm going to actually tune into them so that we have at least some sort of a backdrop for this video. As you can see, I'm tuned to 1.5 gigahertz. According to the table, the global, all of the Inmarsat downlinks should be starting at 1525 megahertz, going up to 1559. However, if we go a couple of megahertz higher, I am actually seeing some signals even under that, and I don't know why. I mean, there are several explanations. The band allocation might have expanded. This is from an FCC report, so that would have been for a different satellite accessible to the United States. What we are currently aimed at is the Inmarsat 4F4 satellite, I believe its official name is, but its unofficial, or no, it's also official, but its alternative name is AlphaSat. Again, I keep doing this in videos as if you are gonna see anything when I aim the camera at the satellite. So imagine it somewhere over there, a giant, terrifying satellite, one of the biggest satellites. Well, at the time of its launch, I believe it was one of the biggest, or at least most powerful satellites ever launched. It is a massive folding, deployable L-band antenna, L-band dish reflector, and then an array of L-band antennas allowing it to beamform little spot beams on Earth, a couple dozen at least, together with a global beam. And these are generally the types of signal you're going to be receiving. You will notice that as we go higher in the band, many more appear. Okay, there we go. So this is 1525, so this is where it should be starting, and immediately we see the strength and frequency, I mean, in terms of how numerous they are, goes up. And you can see many types of different traffic, and I've always found it very interesting just going through the band and looking at it just from the sheer amount of different types of signals. Like, look at this, what even is this, right? Most of these are not particularly interesting to amateur radio operators or just satellite reception enthusiasts. Difficult to pronounce. You can see a gap between right around 1544. That's because that's where search and rescue satellites downlink. We have already looked at that on the channel. There's a plane going by, interfering with my audio. You can actually see very faintly some search and rescue downlinks, but as we go higher, we see more Inmarsat downlinks. These are some lower rate ones. You can be taking a closer look at them. I just kind of want to show you. And we should go up to 1559. And there we should see the end. It looks like from 1550. There are some wideband signals, but this is not. We are now in the navigation satellites territory, so there's gonna be some nondescript, unidentified but identifiable downlinks. But the bulk of the activity seems to be between 1520 and 1552 maybe. So that's what you have probably seen many times before. And yeah, as I was saying, look at how strong these signals are, right? This from a weather satellite would be a dream, being able to receive something like this on something like this. It's of course AlphaSat, owing to its massive solar panels, has plenty of power that it can just throw on Earth. That was that like 5, 10, 15 decibels SNR at least. There's probably going to be some even stronger ones. So let's go through the hardware that I'm using. I think I was talking about something and then I said we're gonna take a look at the signals and I completely forgot what I was talking about, so I'm not gonna be coming back to that topic. Let's go through our hardware and talk about why it's not ideal. So obviously, starting with the antenna. Generally speaking, you don't even need a dish antenna, and actually I did bring a helical antenna. So normally what you could do is just use a right-hand circularly polarized helix aimed directly at the satellite, and it would be enough to receive at least the air traffic control signals, which is what most people are interested in. Again, we're going to be taking a look at that shortly. For our experiments today, I am using what I think is a 60 by 50 centimeter offset dish antenna with a left-hand circularly polarized 1.7 gigahertz helical feed. So immediately, here's our first inefficiency. This feed is meant for a slightly higher frequency, but owing to how wide band helical feeds tend to be, it works just fine. Well, just fine. It probably would work better if it was slightly bigger and better tuned for 1.5 gigahertz. Another problem you will spot if I aim the camera like this, probably. This is where the LNB is meant to be. This is where the focal point of the dish is. And because this dish is so small, the slight deviation of the helix from the focal point actually translates to it not really aiming at the center of the dish. So again, probably we are over illuminating the top of the dish and not really properly illuminating the bottom, so we are losing some signal there. And of course we have the amplifier. This is a wideband amplifier that I built myself, which sounds like a flex, but it's not very good. Something like a Sobert IO, which is what probably again most people will be using for this, would do better than this, so that's another loss. And then some really, well, questionable quality coax going to the SDR. And yeah, with all of that, you can see that it's still plenty to receive basically all types of downlinks from the satellite. I'm gonna go through the band quickly just to take a look, but I don't think I can even see, maybe some of these signals are weak where we might have trouble looking at them. I don't know whether these are coming from the global beam or a local spot beam. You may be receiving something from a neighboring spot beam, which would have been much stronger if we were located in that spot beam. Look at that. Look at this. It's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 signal to noise ratio maybe. Again, right, all of these are phase shift keying digital signals, so you only, maybe something like this would normally be enough to get a lock with error correction, and yet we are receiving them this strong. So maybe we can talk about what these are, but I'm not really an expert on that. I did look into that in preparations for this video, but it seems to be a bit confusing because there's like old information mixed in with new one. It's also because Inmarsat offers a lot of services, or many services, excuse me, to government and military entities, so some of the information is not really, widely available. For example, this, I have no idea what to even think what this signal is. It's some bursts of data. Let's see if we can. Inmarsat offers a very wide range of services, which also translates to a very wide range of different signals. So even here we can see multiple types. So here we have some bursts, here we have some uniform data. This seems to be some filler repeating pattern. This is again different type of data. You can see the pattern in the signal is different than these, and then this one has a different symbol rate altogether, and this just looks like completely uniform noise. So all of these, so I don't know what these are transmitting, but I know just by looking at them that they are transmitting different types of data at least, although these two now seem to be quite similar. So these signals are 175 kilohertz wide, and these, all of these, as you can see, they are the same bandwidth. If I move the tuner, you can see. So these probably are some form of the BGAN service. I forgot what that means. what it does is basically just general purpose broadband data, in terms of what you can achieve on the L-band. It's not much. These actually use 16 QAM modulation, which is the highest order modulation that you can sort of come across on the L-band, I think, at least. Now, I forgot what the exact symbol rate of these signals is. It looks like it's gonna be maybe 125 based on the bandwidth. 125,000 symbols per second. But let's call it, oh, look at that, one just started up. Let's round it down to 100,000, just to make it simpler. So if you are transmitting at 100,000 symbols per second with 16 QAM, you are actually able to achieve 400,000 bits per second, right, of raw data rate, of course. The real data throughput will be lower because some of that bit rate will be dedicated to maybe error correction and other synchronization, frame sync, frame headers and stuff like that. But again, higher order modulation, above that would be 32 QAM, where you would be transmitting 5 bits per symbol. And every time you go up in the order of modulation, you need to achieve a higher signal-to-noise ratio to actually decode the signal on the other end, which probably explains why these signals are so strong. And as you can see, it doesn't even have a single bandwidth. I don't know if this would also be the BGAN service, because the data rate looks like it's lower, maybe 85 or 80, maybe even 75,000 symbols per second. And here we have another lower rate stream. Let's see how wide that is. So the signal bandwidth is around 25 kilohertz, so maybe 20,000 symbols. I don't know. Yeah, very exciting content, I know. But most of these, again, would be encrypted, or they would carry data that you just cannot interpret. But there are actually some that you can receive and that you can decode. Look at this. What even is this? Now, Inmarsat also offers the LTAC service. Again, completely forgot the acronym, what it means. It may be this, I'm not sure, because again, the data, just all kinds of data, which is where it would actually be relaying analog traffic in some cases, or digital, from military UHF radios. And I think it works in a way where you just put an L-band transmitter, because these satellites receive at 1.6 gigahertz, transmit at 1.5. So you would put a converter basically on your UHF radio that the military would normally be using, and actually be relaying your transmissions through Inmarsat. And depending on the type of transmission, some may be analog. We have actually seen some malicious use of the analog transponder in the past, but I don't think it was on AlphaSat. I don't think it was this satellite, and I don't even see anything that looks like it would be the transponder. Maybe besides this, I don't know what this is. Other than that, the data that most people are interested in, on AlphaSat at least, is above 1545, and it's all of these narrow signals. So these would be the Aero signals, air traffic control signals basically. And there are actually applications that can decode the messages and display whatever is being transmitted. I believe there is like an early stage of a decoder in SetDump, but usually what has been used for this is Aero, and I think I have that on the computer. We can actually try demodulating some of these. Where do you set your... Don't use this video as a tutorial. I'm just doing this out of curiosity. I'm gonna put some links in the description about how you can decode data from Inmarsat. But all these narrower signals would transmit messages. Okay, it's L-band, so these are messages from the ground to airplanes. These, I don't know, you have various types of messaging here, and I think these wider or higher rate ones, these may actually be voice transmissions. And I don't think, well, I know for a fact that there are unencrypted ones. I don't know if there are unencrypted ones, but you can use this to listen to some digital voice. I kind of don't do that because I don't know, it's not a transmission intended to me. Actually, this is much wiser than I thought. Look at that. So if you go to Aero, look, it actually has stored messages from the last session that I used, whatever. But if we go here, we can see the signal types that it supports, between 600 bits per second to 10,500 bits per second. And you will actually see some of these signals are very narrow. So these would probably be the 600 BPS ones. So let's see if we can actually demodulate some and get some messages. So let's set our output. Okay, there we go. It took me a while to find the signal, but it's one of these lower rate ones. Appears to be a valid 1.2K signal. We are getting a nice constellation. It's saying that's actually a very good constellation. Again, just for reference, this is the setup we're using for that. Okay, I'm losing my balance. I'm falling over. Okay, calm down. We are getting a red volume indication, which I think means the volume is too high. So let's reduce that and let it regain the lock. And there we go. We are decoding. And if there were any valid messages, any unencrypted messages, I believe they would be showing up here. We are getting some CRC errors. We don't appear to be decoding anything, so I'm not sure. This may be, I don't know, just filler data or just data that's not supported, that cannot be interpreted. Let's see if we can find another stream like that, maybe this one. Again, with Inmarsat, because this is just a general purpose data transponder, this could be like anything basically, right? I can't really be bothered to look for this for too long. So, oh, look at that. I think this appeared now. These are weaker, higher rate ones. Could these be the 10K signals? Let's see. 10,500. I believe those are data signals. We are sort of getting a constellation. Oh, look at that. One signal just appeared. Let's see, will it decode? We got signal, we got data.
Yeah, hi, how you doing?
And this is indeed a voice transmission.
Sure, no problem. Name?
Looks like it's being currently interfered with some other downlink. Obviously, if there is anything... Yeah, we are getting some interference from a different downlink. Okay, there's some Chinese, so I'm probably not gonna include much of this in the video. The fact that it's sort of broken up by the interference is probably good, because, I don't know, it's kind of a questionable use of SDR assets. So, let's move away. But it is a nice demonstration of how this works. Obviously, ideally they would not just be using channels overlapping with each other. But this is not even the most interesting signal. I want to find some of the 10K signals, because those actually carry some of the... Yeah, these are the 10K signals. They are just really weak, so it's just barely locking onto them. Oh, look at that! We just decoded a message. Oh, there we go. Now we have a stream of messages coming in. But we are now decoding the ACARS messages. So again, I have not really looked into this at all, so there is nothing constructive that I can say in this video about these, besides looking at the cool messages. As I said, these are messages from the ground to... from the ground. They are coming from the satellite, obviously, but they are intended to for the... What am I saying? They are intended for the aircraft, which means the data in these messages... Airbus A320, Saudi Arabian Airlines. I don't know what this means. 1300 Zulu, that's the time. TRL, I don't know, flight level 150, wind 180. Then I don't know what that means. Visibility, this nice weather. Again, as you can see, it's enough. If we are using a proper amplifier, or maybe if I just put the dish in a better position, we would probably be able to get clear decodes. What else do we have here? I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means. Exercise caution using GPS. GPS signal interference might occur. Caution birds activity. I can't speak today. In the vicinity of 80. Confirm 8 is Lima. Expect RNAV runway 15. Look at that, here we have more messages. But of course, this is quite interesting for enthusiasts. But sites like ADSB Exchange would actually be using Inmarsat as well. But of course, for tracking planes, for where planes report their positions, it would not be in messages to aircraft, it would be in the messages from aircraft to the satellite, and those are actually relayed in the C-band. In the C-band, that was meant to be like a dramatic pan of the camera, and that's what I want to try doing next. We may have just enough battery capacity to try it out, and if we go here, you can actually see there are some modes that we have not seen, like the 10,500 burst modes, and those would actually be the ADS-C position report messages. For where I am, in the middle of Europe, basically, the coverage is already so good here that if I set up a receiving station, I would not be able to contribute anything useful. But of course, emergencies and other like weird situations, all of that should be reported here. I don't know if these use the spot beams. If they are using the spot beams, then even if you are receiving the same satellite in a different location on the Earth, you could be receiving different messages. And I mean, maybe it's possible because of the varying signal strengths here. So that's Inmarsat, and that's Inmarsat L-band. I think that's all I wanted to show you on the L-band. Going higher in frequency, well, I talked about the C-band, but we are actually going to make a quick stop on the S-band, and for that we need an S-band antenna. Now, that helical antenna for 1.7 GHz maybe would still work, but I'm gonna go into my fridge and, oh my god, and get one of these. So this is my 2.2 GHz helical antenna. This is not going to be from AlphaSat anymore, but there is actually a type of Inmarsat service called the European Aviation Network, or the S-band European Aviation Network, or S-EAN, and this is coming from a Greek, I believe, geostationary satellite, which also happens to have which is also hosting an Inmarsat payload. So we can't receive that with this SDR, so I'm gonna switch to ACARS and I'll get back to you. So I have the ACARS connected directly to a helical antenna, to a left-hand circular polarized helical antenna, just to prove, or just to demonstrate how insanely powerful these signals are. And look at that, you can see them. You can actually see them with just the antenna. Except I'm still proving my point, because I'm aimed in the exact opposite direction of the geostationary orbit, and you can see the signals. Look what happens. So look at that, we are receiving the S-band service from Inmarsat with just this. No amplifier, no dish antenna. I don't even have the LNA of the ACARS turned on, or not the LNA, the additional receive amplifier. So this is like low rate internet data for aircraft. You can see there's another transponder here, and we should be able to see some other activity around 2.2 GHz. And this may not be Inmarsat anymore. I think there's a Eutelsat satellite that's also transmitting. So I'm moving the antenna around, and you can see some different types of data, but I'm not sure whether this is Inmarsat anymore, so not really a part of the video, but I just wanted to show you how stupidly strong these are. And these are actually left-hand circular polarized, which is why it's working so well with this antenna, which would normally be used only as a feed for a dish antenna, which inverts the polarization. As far as I know, there is nothing that can be decoded from these signals on the amateur level, at least, and there isn't really anything sort of worth decoding, I think, if it is just like commercial internet traffic. So there isn't anything interesting that you could get from that, other than like encrypted IP packets, maybe. I don't know. It is quite interesting. So that was our little stopover in the S-band. Not AlphaSat anymore, but it is Inmarsat. Unfortunately, currently from my location, I can only receive signals on the L-band from AlphaSat, and on the S-band from HLSat 2, or S-EAN, let's call it. So in other parts of the world, you would be aiming maybe at different satellites. Maybe you would have even multiple satellites available to receive from your location. But because I don't, and because I have exhausted my options with with this, we are gonna go back to AlphaSat, back to Inmarsat 4F4, and we've done L-band, we've done S-band, so next in line is of course C-band. Okay, well, we are back, and a couple things have changed. Well, the first one, as you can see, we are now using this dish and a little 3D printed depolarizer. It's also a different year now, and I have my laptop really far away from the dish, that way it's actually in the shade of the fridge here. It's also now running a different operating system, don't worry about that, and we are also using SDR++, don't worry about that. But yeah, this is AlphaSat, and we are receiving the C-band downlink from AlphaSat. Now, the C-band is used as a return link for the L-band transponders, I believe. The frequency here is displaying the intermediary frequency, because it's being down converted by the LNB. So to get the real frequency of whatever we have tuned here, you have to subtract this number from 5150 megahertz, which is the local oscillator of the LNB. Okay, so we are now around 3.6 gigahertz. We are gonna take a look at the wider bandwidth later, but this particular transponder, or maybe a pair of transponders, you can maybe sort of see like the noise floor of each transponder, kind of. A bigger dish would definitely see it better. But these transponders are especially interesting because they are the return link or the ground to plane, and in fact you can see I have one of them tuned in with USB demodulation, upper sideband demodulation, and I have Aero running, and look at that. These are the messages that we are decoding now, and this is the good stuff, right? This is what ADS-C is. This is what plane spotters, plane trackers are using, because these messages, unlike the ones on the L-band, or at least unlike the vast majority of the ones on the L-band, these actually include the position information of the aircraft. Well, not all of them, but many of them do. And they include many other points of data, like the onboard time, the FOM, I don't know what it is, flight ID, so this is United Airlines, okay, it actually says here United Airlines UA18, the next waypoint coordinates, so you can actually see the flight path the plane is taking, the temperature, and there's the temperature of course at 36,000 feet, negative 53 degrees Celsius, wind direction, wind speed. And remember, we are now looking only at a single transponder, only on a single channel on the transponder, only this little stream of messages, and there are many others. Now, not all of these carry the position information, and I've really only been able to identify like 3. All of these longer messages that you can see, like here and maybe here, could carry the position information, and I did actually do a quick temporary test of feeding this data to an online flight tracker. Now, even though AlphaSat is geostationary, it is on a slightly inclined orbit, it's not perfectly stable, which on the L-band you maybe could notice it with a very big dish antenna. I'm not sure if something like this would matter, but in the C-band, as the wavelength gets smaller and the effective beam width of the dish antenna gets also smaller, the satellite actually slowly drifts outside of the beam of the dish antenna, and the satellite either does like a little circular pattern in the sky or like a figure 8, depending on how it is inclined. But in practice that means that if you want to set up like an ADS-C feeder station, and I think other satellites also have this problem, I'm gonna call it a problem. It's not really a problem for the actual ground stations, because obviously those have tracking antennas by default, but for amateur ADS-C feeders that does mean that you would need at least some sort of tracking. Obviously not like a full azimuth elevation drive, but at least some linear actuators to adjust the dish to follow the satellite motion, which I don't have, so I cannot set up a permanent station, at least for ADS-C. But for a short test like this, as you can see the signal is still strong, it's fine. So these are the ADS-C messages, this is the C-band, and I think that's basically it. So as I said, I don't think I finished talking about it. I did try feeding this data to a flight tracker, a private flight tracker, not like ADS-B exchange or anything. And I did record the time lapse of the map showing the plane locations, and you can see exactly when the feed from my dish starts, because it did not carry any ADS-C, any satellite ADS-C at least. And at some point in time I realized that AlphaSat actually drifted off from the beam of my dish antenna, So I readjusted the dish and immediately started getting many more messages, and you will see that the map starts to populate faster, and eventually I just turn the feed off and the positions expire after around 30 to 40 minutes and disappear from the map. But it was a nice demonstration of how much reach you actually get from ADS-C. Now, you will notice on the map that all of the positions are either above the ocean or above like rural areas of the Earth, where ADS-B is either not useful or not practical. So it is not a replacement for ADS-B. Obviously, the most traffic information is still going through ADS-B, and ADS-C satellite data is kind of like supplementing it where it cannot be used. But for flight tracking websites, this is actually very important. Flight Radar, ADS-B Exchange will have several of these stations, amateur stations. Actually, I'm not sure, maybe some are commercial, I don't care, everything has been sold. But stations like this that receive the ADS-C data, feed it to the website, and is then plotted on the map. Hopefully the wind is not too much of a problem with the audio. I said this previously in the video, do not treat this as a tutorial. There will be links in the website, links in the description to a website or multiple websites, whatever I can find, that actually talk about this in detail if this is something you'll be interested in, maybe setting up your own little private flight tracker like that. The one I was feeding to was a British amateur radio group that basically set it up not as an alternative to ADS-B Exchange or anything, but just as a project to see how much they can gather with their own members. I'm not a member of that group, so I kind of was being an intruder for a while, but whatever. I had permission, okay? I think. So that's ADS-C from AlphaSat and from Inmarsat, basically. Okay, you can still see me in the reflection. I don't have OBS even installed on this. Leave me alone. This dish is now configured for right-hand circular polarization. Only sees the right-hand circular polarized signal and completely, well, not ignores, but cannot even detect the left-hand circular polarized signal. The problem is that I lost the depolarizer that comes with the LNB, and without it, the LNB is configured for linear polarization, which actually can receive both left-hand and right-hand circular equally well, with just a small mismatch loss, which at first may sound like it's not a problem. If it can receive them equally well, why bother with it? But because it can receive both of them, they are now on the same frequency interfering with each other, and I actually was not able to see any of this traffic without the depolarizer. So if you are planning on trying something like this, not like a permanent station or anything, but even if you want just to look at it, you will need a circular polarized LNB for it. Usually the C-band LNBs do come with the depolarizer. I just lost mine. So that's that out of the way. Now I'm going to increase my bandwidth again, and we're gonna take a look at what else is here on the right-hand circular polarized transponder downlink. Not really much. Kind of the same deal as the L-band downlinks, where this is the interesting part, this is the Aero part of it, and then most of it is sort of like just encrypted broadband traffic, I guess. But on the left-hand side, I think there are more of these like super wide downlinks, which are just higher rate, whatever. Or technically, maybe these would be uplinks, I guess. When an L-band station transmits to the satellite would then convert it to C-band and transmit it to the ground station. The ground station responds to the satellite in the C-band, satellite converts it and sends the response back down as the L-band. And I think these may be like the L-band BGAN return links, or like the other side of the links. I don't know, man. As I said, this was not even supposed to be a video. So that's Inmarsat C-band, well, kind of. So that's Inmarsat C-band 3.6 gigahertz. But there's one more thing, and it was the entire premise of why I wanted to do this. If we go to 1200 megahertz intermediate frequency, which is around 3.9 gigahertz, I think, real frequency, there is a tiny little signal here, and this is the thing that gave me the idea for this video. This right here is actually the telemetry downlink from AlphaSat. So everything we have seen so far have been transponders, which are, I think, not generated by the satellite. I don't think it uses regenerative transponders. Whereas this is a transmission that's coming actually from the satellite that's being modulated by the satellite and would contain some telemetry information, and probably is used as a beacon maybe to look for the satellite, which I have used that for as well because it is more convenient owing to the central beacon and consistent strength, because, well, this is not a transponder. I'm going to recalculate that into the real frequency, but you have to again keep in mind my LNB may not be entirely precise, so somewhere around that is the true frequency. And that's it. So this will be around 3.9 gigahertz. So the band above C-band would be X-band. I don't think AlphaSat has any traffic there. Then above that will be KU band. Again, I don't think AlphaSat uses it. But there is actually a 20 gigahertz downlink, which is sometimes called KA band. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna get back to you in a minute. Hold on. Okay, we are back at the 20 gigahertz setup that you have seen in the previous video, I think. No, we have not. We used a different editions. Anyway, this is the LNB from the previous video, the 20 gigahertz LNB, and we are actually receiving a signal around 1.5 gigahertz intermediary frequency. If I put my hand in front of the LNB, look at that. The signal sort of goes away. So AlphaSat is actually transmitting a propagation beacon, like an experimental transmitter, 19 point something gigahertz. It's just rounded up to 20 gigahertz, whatever. I think this is a unique feature for AlphaSat. I don't think other I4 satellites have that. Once you get to the point where you are measuring the wavelength in millimeters instead of centimeters, at least, things like the conditions of the atmosphere or rain and rain clouds will actually start to influence the signal to a measurable point where it actually matters. This is why propagation beacons like this, and AlphaSat actually is transmitting this, as well as a 40 gigahertz propagation beacon, which I can't receive. But there will be ground stations tracking this from different points on Earth, looking at how the signal to noise ratio changes with the atmospheric conditions, stuff like that, to get a better idea of how this band works, how usable it is for satellite downlinks, and apparently very usable because we are using it. Now, here's the problem. I'm actually not sure if this is AlphaSat. As I've demonstrated, this is actually a satellite downlink, but if I take the dish, there's our original signal, there's some wideband signal actually, it goes much further below, it's just being cut off by the SDR bandwidth. There's our different signal, you can see it's different satellite because it behaves differently as I aim the dish around. There's another one there, look at that, and I believe there was a third or a fourth one as well, which I can't find right now. And because it is just a propagation beacon, basically just a carrier wave without any data modulators onto it, we can't even decode like a satellite identifier or anything like that from it. So fortunately, that's all I could have shown you. And I think that's going to be it for the video. Again, as I said, not really planned initially. We went through all of the different bands that you can receive Inmarsat at, except the KA band, I guess. Maybe we can take a look at the Inmarsat 5 satellites. I should have some of those in sight. I'm going to 3D print a 40mm holder for this dish because this is kind of intended to be used as 20 gigahertz. I don't think the geometry precision is really that different from the KU band dishes, but whatever. I came up with this weird stand for the dish, so might as well use it. Just little adjustable legs that completely rusted already without me using it. Well, this works as well as we have just seen, but yeah, I don't know. If you have found anything particularly interesting in this video that maybe you would like to see more focus on, let me know. Let me know what you think. And just generally speaking, if you have any ideas for what you would like to see on the channel, again, let me know. And yeah, I'm gonna end it here. I'm already getting quite cold. It's getting dark. I'm gonna pack it up now, and I'll see you in the next video, which probably, maybe, is going to be an update on the radio telescope project that I have been slowly working on. Again, not really want to do anything in the winter, but anyway, yeah, I'll see you in whatever the next video is actually going to be, and bye.